Okay, so this video will be a Star Wars related topic. It's been a while since I've done something related to Star Wars. It'll be about a Legends era novel that was meant to be basically an introduction slash prequel to Revenge of the Sith. The name of the novel is Labyrinth of Evil. I recently finished reading it about a month ago, and I came up with 12 reasons, a list of 12 problems in Labyrinth of Evil, basically. And I will share what those problems are in this video. The first problem that I found was that the writers basically had Obi-Wan and Anakin both together, focusing on tracking Dooku, stalking Dooku, and chasing Dooku, and just following Dooku. They were involved at a mission on planet Type. Basically, the whole problem with this is that it falsifies and denies and contradicts all the statements of them being on a campaign called the Outer Rim Sieges, because the siege is supposed to be an invasion or a battle. But when the Battle of Type does happen, which is basically one of the only conflicts that is shown besides the conflict on Kato Nemoidia over here in this novel, is during that incident on planet Type, they're basically following Dooku, and Dooku leads them into a trap, and then he doesn't even fight them. That's not a siege. That's not a battle. That is not an invasion. That's just them following him around. And there were supposed to be two Jedi that died in the Battle of Kato Nemoidia, but their names are not mentioned. Something similar happens later when Grievous kills a bunch of Jedi, but their names are not mentioned at the end of this book. And even in the Battle of Belderone too, a lot of Jedi died, but their names were not mentioned, so their deaths were basically irrelevant. My second issue with the Labyrinth of Evil is that there are multiple cross-references in the novel about Quinlan Vos meeting Count Dooku on the planet of Coruscant. This meeting between them both happened a year before Revenge of the Sith. But for some reason, the Jedi Council did not ever think of performing an investigation or detective work in that building where Dooku and Vos meet each other. This is such a sloppy mistake, and it does not make sense. It's too unrealistic to believe that the Jedi were inactive for a full year. Issue number 3 is that there is a random combat form slash lightsaber style known as Lusma that debuted and featured in the novel known as Labyrinth of Evil. This issue is basically because Lusma received no elaboration other than it's supposedly a counter or answer to Sarisu. But before and after Labyrinth of Evil was published, there was no elaboration at all to Lusma. No content creator, no author hired by Lucasfilm, nothing ever tried to explore the form Lusma further. It was just left where it began, basically. So the Star Wars audience and the readers of this book were introduced to a combat form that doesn't make sense, and it's just up to reader interpretation of what it could possibly be. Issue number 4 is that there is an incident in Labyrinth of Evil where Mace Windu supposedly was conducting an investigation related to searching for the second Sith in the building known as the Works. And for that, he required a device called macro binoculars. To me, it's an issue because he had the ability of shatter points, so why does he need these special binoculars? Reason 5, which is issue number 5, is that in page 186, it looked like Obi-Wan was trying to imply that Shaak Ti was more powerful than himself and Anakin, because he claimed that they could take care of cities better than they could. They, as in Shaak Ti and a different Jedi, would be able to take better care of cities than Obi-Wan and Anakin could. Now, clearly, this statement is false based on Shaak Ti's list of embarrassing incidents that she had to go through. She's one of the most overrated and pushover type Jedi. Issue number 6 is that in page 192, the Jedi team said that Dooku and Sidious both do not make mistakes. But the problem over here is that a couple of pages earlier, before that dialogue, it was accepted by both Dooku and Sidious that they have made multiple mistakes in their career. Reason 7 is that the author or whoever was in charge of the direction of the script and the writing team, they basically gave the annoying robot named C-3PO a lot of attention, or at least above average attention, in the novel when they came to the invasion of Coruscant. In my opinion, it's a fact to say this. Giving him relevance is a waste of time. When you're supposed to flesh out the Clone Wars, we're supposed to see General Grievous, we're supposed to see the Separatist commanders, we're supposed to see the Jedi Council members more, but instead we see C-3PO. C-3PO gets more attention than half of the Jedi High Council members, and he gets more attention than Newt Gunray in this novel, too. It's completely unfair and ridiculous that they chose to make C-3PO relevant during the Battle of Coruscant. Reason number 8, in page 234, there is an incident of Shakti attempting to try and read the mind of Chancellor Palpatine. She used a Force ability, but she failed to read his mind. In my opinion, I believe that this should have been a dead giveaway to the fact that Palpatine was using a Force ability to block her mind-reading techniques. It shows that Palpatine was Force sensitive. So the Jedi Council should have predicted before the death of Count Dooku that Palpatine is Sidious. They should have known that he has Force sensitivity. So it's a dumb incident for the author to include in this book. Reason number 9 is that there was an error where Stas Ali, another council member named Stas Ali, her lightsaber color ended up being featured as blue in this novel instead of green. If you read the Wikipedia page and search other Star Wars content and media, then you will know that Stas Ali had a green lightsaber, not a blue one. So this issue was not just with Kit Fisto, it was also with Stas Ali, because Kit Fisto's lightsaber is shown as blue instead of green over here, too. Issue number 10 is that Anakin and Obi-Wan together having a confrontation or conflict with Dooku on the planet Type was not described accurately or clearly. It was hard to determine conclusions after reading it. It was hard to analyze it. Because, first of all, it is not made clear whether Anakin's Force scream caused the dome of that ceiling to fall on just himself and Obi-Wan, or if it also ended up affecting Dooku. It was also stated or hinted at that Dooku might not have actually been inside that dome. Instead, there was just a hollow projector image of him or a silhouette, but not Dooku in body and flesh. Then later on in the book, by reading it, it looks like Dooku might have actually been over there. Issue number 11 is that in the Battle of Coruscant, a lot of text and pages were wasted by focusing on a bunch of politicians like Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Padme fighting droids. Those characters do not deserve any of the recognition or importance or such importance. If you wanted them to become, he did not need to give them importance or focus during the battle itself. They could have had scenes written for them before the Battle of Coruscant, not during the Battle of Coruscant. The readers and the audience are aware of the fact that none of those 3 characters will die until later on in the franchise. They're all plot protected. You can't be invested in them, so it would have been better to not focus on those characters. Instead, give more focus to lesser known council members like Stas Ali, or maybe name at least one of the Jedi that Grievous killed in this novel, so the readers can know what Pablo, Jill, and Rafael Masona were doing before they died against Grievous. Reason 12. In page 264, it's written that Grievous deflected blaster bolts by using his claws. The problem is that later on during Revenge of the Sith, he got killed because of blaster bolts, so why didn't he use his claws to defend himself there then? So this issue could be with Revenge of the Sith instead of Labyrinth of Evil, that they could have made Grievous die in a different way. instead of a blaster bullet.